Inside the Birds is back. What's going on, everybody? It's Geoff, Mosher, Adam, Caplan, and happy Mother's Day, belated Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. Hope everybody had a nice weekend, a good Sunday. The weather was not so great, and sometimes it's feeling like late spring is very hesitant to get here, Adam. Like I see 60s all week, and I'd rather see 70s, maybe a few days in the 80s, but nonetheless, it's still nice out, and we're starting to move away from the draft. And today we're going to, thankfully, talk about not only the rookie free agent signings that the Eagles have made, yet not reported as of the time we
promised you. We got a lot, man. No one's got this kind of breakdown. Yeah, we got really good sourcing on this. Go ahead.
And then a good, exciting signing that we'll talk about into
how about that, huh?
Yeah, waiver claim.
Yeah, I was surprised by that one, but there's a reason for it. We've got some good intel on it, so we're ready.
Yeah, so it should be a pretty good podcast. And then obviously as we move away from the draft and into the offseason, and without the likelihood of no real OTAs, not a whole lot of action, we're gonna get creative and come up with some really good topics and storylines for podcasts going into the future. So we look forward to that. All right. So by the way, for anybody who hasn't caught it yet, this is funny. The Mark Schlereth interview that we did for ITB TV last week was amazing in its ability to just generate its own topics and its own points of conversation. And a big testament of that is just Mark Schlereth, how outgoing he is, how opinionated he is. Because you and I usually keep those ITB interviews to about 15 to 25 minutes. And I think after the first question, first answer from Mark, we already hit the 25-minute mark.
Well, it's funny. Just to give you an idea of how dedicated Mark is. So we worked together at ESPN was he there before I left? He might have left before I left. To go to Fox. But anyway, so we would come off set and we would stay at the DoubleTree, which is about a mile and a half from the ESPN campus in Bristol, Connecticut. And Mark was known to be someone who's very studious. We always watched a lot of tape. Now, the big thing was, like, he and Louis Riddick would use in the lobby of that DoubleTree, like when you go to a hotel that they have like these computer monitors, usually generally pretty big for, people to book their travel and all sorts of stuff. So
right. Mark
would take up one of the monitors for hours. And one night, let's say I went out to dinner, I came back. Before I went to dinner, he was watching it. He was watching tape. When I came back, I don't know this for a fact because I'd have to ask Mark, but the next morning, let's say, because I had a 7 a.m. Sports Center, so I had what's an early call, so I had to leave at like 5:45. He was watching tape. I'm like, wait a minute, did you go to sleep? He's just, you'll hear it. And this, as Geoff said, we had no idea where we were going to be headed on this pod.
Mm-hmm.
And we learned so much about injury recovery, which is why we wanted him on. Offensive line play, Lane Johnson, Doug Peterson, Garrett Bowles of the Broncos, their quarterback situation in Denver,
right.
His issues with PFF, which is I'm a big PFF fan. I'll defend him sometimes, but I understand some people have an issue with him. I get it. It is what it is. But
I thought he put it in a good context of
he was fair,
linemen without knowing what their responsibilities are.
Exactly. He was fair. He was very fair. But I learned so much about injury recovery and what the new 100% is. I don't want to give away the answers to the test, but it actually made me think if you've ever suffered an injury, which is debilitating, or had surgery, it describes what surgery is like. And how many did he have in his life?
29. I can't 20. I mean, I just can't even imagine it.
I can't. One ACL. How about that? Only one ACL?
I know, only one ACL. So I think, it's crazy the way he discussed it at it. I thought the most profound comment that he made was that as an athlete who goes through surgeries, multiple ones, whether it's him or Landon Dickerson, who we were talking about, or his example of using Darren Bragg, who played for the Colorado Rockies, played
what
outfield.
A story.
Yeah, what he was basically saying is that you're just never going to be what you used to be, right? So you have to get it out of your head, right? Yeah, you're going to be that person again, but you have to be able to find out what's the best you can be now, and then work with it. And I think for an offensive lineman, I don't want to say it's easier, but you can do that. You can compensate with, great football intelligence, great technique, great leverage for any athleticism you may have lost or power. But you can definitely tell why, say, a really good wide receiver in college who has 4 surgeries is never going to get drafted in the second round, because that guy's 100% will probably never be anywhere near what that guy's old 100% could be. And it's hard to compensate for what you used to could do with technique and football intelligence. I mean, if you were blowing by cornerbacks and you can't do that anymore, sure, you can become maybe a more of a route runner and a possession receiver or something different, but you're just never going to be the quote unquote deep threat or elite threat. But an offensive lineman can do it. And so I feel like if you heard it, you feel like Landon Dickerson, if Mark Schlereth, and I don't want to use one case that's an outlier to project for everyone, but if he can have 29 surgeries, he wasn't even a first round pick. I mean, Landon Dickerson
but
is way more of probably an athletic guy coming out of college.
Well, Mark actually was a tremendous athlete. He's father too. I remember Mark telling me a story about his father. But as you said, he had so many injuries. He had to be a crafty veteran. And this is what, kind of like Jason Peters as he got older and he had so many injuries, particularly knee, ACL, and then Achilles. He had to learn how to change his game a little bit. You manipulate the hands differently. A lot of older offensive linemen do this. And it's just really, it was really remarkable. We gave Mark the floor and he took it, man. Again, we didn't know where he was going to go because we don't script these things. We just want to talk about Dickerson. That's what Geoff and I said. Hey, let's have him on. Let's see. I know Mark loves to talk about offensive line play, but he took so many conversations in a different direction. It was really, really cool.
Yeah, and the fans really seem to enjoy the analogy about when you're an offensive lineman, there's nowhere to move. You're either offensive lineman, and when you're done, you're a fan. It's not like a corner moves to safety, a safety moves to linebacker.
Oh, right, that's a good point, right?
Wide receiver moves to tight end. He says when you're an offensive lineman, when you move, you're a fan. That's what you are. And a lot of people laughed at that. And of course, Chip Kelly still, it doesn't take much to get him going on what he disliked about Chip Kelly.
He and Merrill Hodge, some of the two biggest detractors nationally. Oh my goodness gracious. They just absolutely would crush Chip's offense. They thought it was, basically a high school offense. Mm-hmm. And to some degree, once the league figured it out, it sure looked like one.
Right. Absolutely. All right. So real quick, make sure you're checking out the Inside the Draft with Greg Cosell. The one we did last week is the final of the 6-week installment. It wraps up all of the Eagles draft picks. We also took a look at the other NFC East teams and how they drafted. Great stuff from Greg Cosell. And if you really, if you're just into figuring out some of the prospects and where they went and how they're going to be, you should go check out any of the first 5 episodes that we did with him, because I think we probably broke down between 50 and 100 guys when all is said and done. So check that out. It's all on our YouTube and podcast platforms. Q&A will be back again this week. They had a great comeback last week, and I'm sure they're going to have some great stuff again. That'll be out Wednesday, 6 a.m. So Wednesday? Do we do that Wednesday or Tuesday? Yeah, Wednesday.
Yeah, 6 Wednesday. Yep.
All right. Before we get into the Kerryon Johnson news and, of course, the rookie free agent signings, you have heard Adam and I talk about how much we love winning, whether it was me, intramural basketball, Adam, fantasy football, tennis, basketball, also the day he was in the zone. Those days are well behind us. We retired a long time ago, but we are winning because we're using Deal Dash, the online shopping platform that's actually fun. Deal Dash is the longest running penny auction website and app around. If you think it's too good to be true, you're right. I seen a car go for $900, a brand new TV for less than $2, and I'm still missing out on those wireless speakers that I could have got for $41 if I had just held in there a little longer, valued at $165. So don't be a loser. Stop paying full retail price for things you want and can get on Deal Dash. So go to DealDash.com or download the app. And when you register, enter the promo code ITB for a special offer. You'll get some bonus free bids. Start bidding. Use ITB for a special offer. You get some free bids, and away you go. And we hope everybody is a winner on Deal Dash. All right. Well, the Eagles were, in many people's opinions and my own, kind of winners in the waiver sweepstakes when they came home with Kerryon Johnson on Friday. Adam, it's an interesting addition. There's a lot to go through here because he's a really talented player when healthy, but he's not only has some injuries that he's dealt with at the NFL, and I didn't realize this. I went and looked back in college. Man, I mean, we talk about Landon Dickerson. This kid has some injury history himself, and so that's why he's where he's in the position where he was already replaced by DeAndre Swift and They brought in another running back, Jamal
Williams.
Right?
Yeah, Jamal Williams basically took his job. They paid him pretty good coin to back up Swift, and it was pretty much over for him. I was surprised that the Eagles claimed him, but when I checked on it, I totally get it. Kerryon Johnson is a phenomenal pass protector. That's really what he became. Not particularly third down back, but when he's in on third down, he blocks well. He's the three things I was given is he scans well, he identifies well, and he uses good technique to block. So he knows what he's doing. And that's what you're looking for in a potential third down back, or in this case, he wouldn't be a third down back if he makes a team. He's not going to be their primary, but a guy that can do that. He also has size. So we'll get into, as we dive into this, it's a really interesting transaction. But he gives them someone's experienced, who has started games. He's got size. He can catch by the way, he catches the ball very well. He's a vision, set up the blocks and hit it up in there kind of guy. He's not fast.
Right.
But he's a talented guy. This guy was a former second round pick, and 24.
I remember his rookie year. I remember for some reason they played a couple. There was that Sunday night game against the Patriots where he rushed for 100 yards and broke the Lions' 80 straight game drought without a 100-yard rusher.
I didn't know.
I remember that game. Yeah, it was such big news. I mean, A, they beat New England on Sunday Night Football, and B, it had been since who was that first round pick that kept getting Javid Best?
Javid Best, yeah.
I think he was the last guy before Kerryon Johnson. I could be wrong about that.
Yeah, he had concussion issues. Yeah, Javid Best was the first rounder for Cal, I think.
Yeah, but 80 even in the NFL where it's pass, it's hard to imagine going 80 straight games without a 100-yard rusher. But he broke the mold, and he looked like he was going to be a pretty good running back. But the injuries really hurt him.
He had he's had at least one MCL sprain, significant one. He's had at least two knee injuries, which were fairly significant as a pro. You outlined some injuries in college.
Shoulder, I think he had.
I'm sorry.
I think he had a shoulder in college and an ankle. There were a couple of injuries there. Yeah.
So he's not the player he once was, but he's healthy now, and he's going to have a chance to make the roster. Now let's turn to his contract. He's on the final year of his rookie deal. There's no guaranteed money. There's nothing. They could cut him at home absolutely zero. $1.367 million is his base salary. Now,
let me just stop you there. For those who don't understand, right? When you claim a player off waivers, you're claiming the contract that they were already under. So the Eagles did not offer him a new contract, as Adam is explaining. They're basically claiming the fourth year of his second round rookie deal, which I'm sorry, repeat one more time how much the base salary is?
$1.367 million, no guarantees.
Right. So if he doesn't make the team, the Eagles don't have to pay the $1.367 million.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
So how do you see him competing? See, the thing that's interesting, right, is that he's an experienced running back, he's a bigger running back, and he's good in pass protection. Those are three things you could also say about Jordan Howard. And I wonder if it's really a competition between those two to make the team, or if there's a possibility that those two can both make the team. That's a lot of money to spend on two guys who are not going to play, right? If you were to keep Jordan Howard and you were to keep Kerryon Johnson, what's Jordan Howard's contract?
I'm looking up as we speak. I read your mind.
I mean, I know it's veteran minimum, but that's
got to be veteran minimum, over $1 million, I'm sure, but not much more. Right. Jordan Howard, actually, all right, over close to it, 990,
all right,
990,000.
So call it $1 million, right?
Yeah, his cap number is only 850. Based on the type, he got no guaranteed money. Yeah, so, all right, so I know people have asked this question on our message board. That's a great question. We're going to break this down. Miles Sanders is the starter. There's no one's competing for it. No one.
Yeah.
Is.
By the way, a lot of people are interpreting this as like some kind of sign that the team is not high on Miles Sanders.
No, total nonsense. Yeah, total nonsense. Now, there is one factor though. Sanders needs to improve. He and Boston Scott, I'm told, are not great pass protectors. Sanders improved with it. He's still not where he needs to be with it. The scanning part of it, sometimes he doesn't pick up the right guy.
Correct.
It's just something as you get older as a running back, you start figuring it out. But he's not there yet. Kerryon Johnson is exceptional at it. He's just really good. Because this is the way that they're going to, this is a West Coast scheme. The backs will catch the football, is what I was told. Sanders, when he's in the game, on first and second down, will catch the ball. Sanders, Kerryon Johnson, if he makes a team, Boston Scott, if he makes a team, Gainwell, if he makes a team, they're all, they could all play on third down. Now, Gainwell will not be your typical third down back. Won't be his role. He's going to be a specialty back in terms of the way they use him. He could seize time on third down, but he could come on base downs. He could come on first down. Don't look at him, folks. He's not going to be a gadget player, but don't look at him as a third down back. That's absolutely not his role. He can do it, and he will, but he's going to be a jack of all trades, slot receiver, X receiver. Like that, if you look at what he did in college for that 1 year production, which was huge, they put so much on him, the Memphis coaches, and he stood up to it. He was incredible, and that's what makes him special as a talent. Now we'll see what happens. He needs to play. He needs to perform in training camp to show that he deserves to be on the team. But I would say Howard or Scott are gone. That's the way I see it. That would be my opinion in May. I would say that. I'm not saying now, but by the time training camp is over, that's it. The other guys, good luck, guys. Killins, Huntley, Holyfield. I mean, they may come to training camp, but you have a better chance of making a team than those guys do, unless there's a lot of injuries.
It'll be interesting to see the new coaching staff and their philosophy on younger players, Adam, because we knew with Doug Peterson, and this kind of comes from Andy, but Doug even seemed more so, he's willing to give the young guys a shot early. But if, like with Miles as a rookie, he put the ball on the carpet a couple of times. He had some bad pass protection. He disappeared. He had to disappear. I'm not talking about not playing well. I mean, he literally was on the bench for a little bit there 2 years ago while Jordan Howard took over. I forgot about
that. You're right.
And, you and I talked about it. In some cases, it made sense. You're trying to win games. You need somebody out there who can execute the offense, not make mistakes. But at the other hand, when you bury a guy like that, you don't give him a chance to improve upon his mistakes. You have to understand that it is typical of rookies to put the ball. I mean, McCole Hardman as a rookie fumbled like 4 or 5, 6 times, but he was still out there when he needed to be as a returner. He was mostly putting the ball on the ground. I remember that. But Andy would, show confidence and put him back out there. Kareem Hunt, he fumbled on his first ever carry after never fumbling.
Man, you got a good memory, man.
Yeah, I remember some of these things stick out to me. But I think we had issues sometimes with Doug kind of really, once a guy gets in the doghouse, and maybe Fulgham kind of became an example of that last year. It's like you get locked in there and maybe you don't get enough chances. I don't know. I mean, different situation with Fulgham.
Fulgham was maturity, and he also had we learned, after the season was over, he had ankle surgery. I'm told that was in mid-season when he first injured it, though he didn't miss any time. That was mysterious. I don't know what he did to his ankle, but nevertheless, when you look at the situation of running back, the great thing is now they've got explosiveness and versatility with Gainwell. Johnson has got size, and he could play on third down. He can play in goal line. Boston Scott, we know, could play on third down. He's obviously smaller. He's a changeup. Jordan Howard it's really odd. I know some personal people told me they think he's too much finesse sometimes, but he's got size, okay? He revived his career 2 years ago. Last year, he went through all sorts of crazy stuff with the Dolphins. Dolphins benched him after one game. He became a goal line back. That's why his yards per carry and were low. And then he talked about it. He thought he had some pretty interesting quotes when he in the last couple of months talk about his season last season. And then you've got Sanders who's very dynamic, but consistency and in injuries. He's had some minor injuries with the hamstring. Hamstrings have been an issue for him, by the way. He had dual hamstring injuries in his rookie season, the spring of 2019. Both hamstrings had strains, and then he got himself together. Then he had another hamstring. He had a grade 1 hamstring strain before the season started. So something to keep an eye on. You can never have enough depth though at running back. I know people are asking, will they keep 4 or 5 running backs? First of all, players cut themselves. It's always the way it is. It'll never change. You don't. It's rare that a team cuts a player, and it happens, but it's rare that a team cuts a player they want to keep. Save for the cap. Like this year, we had the cap issue with the Saints and the Bears, are the 2 teams to really cut players they didn't want to cut, but they had to because they're making a lot of money. But this is a fascinating battle in training camp. The battle's going to be this: Kerryon Johnson versus Boston Scott versus Jordan Howard for Gainwell. These guys are competing. The guess would be, because typically teams keep 3 or 4 running backs, and if there are no injuries, they're certainly not going to keep more than 4. Right. So who would be the odd man out? It's Geoff set up earlier. To me, you can't guarantee that Johnson will be on Kerryon Johnson will be on the team,
Mm-hmm.
but he offers so much that Jordan Howard, quite frankly, can't. Jordan Howard's not a third down back. In fact, I remember asking someone on the former coach's staff, 1 year, I don't know, with the Bears, maybe at 30 plus catches. I know someone with the Eagles told me they never designed anything for him because that's not what he does. He's just not explosive.
Right.
You would never, you check it down to him if there's no one else, but that's just the way you do it.
The big key for both of those veterans is to stay healthy in training camp, because if one has to miss 2 or 3 weeks and the other one gets the opportunity, they're not going to wait around. I mean, that's why these two guys are here. 2 veterans to kind of compete and show which one can and contribute the most. And, it ain't going to be like Javon Hargrave, who missed all of training camp last year, but he's definitely on the team, right? I mean, these guys are going to have to do their best to try to stay healthy.
It's true.
To give themselves a chance to compete.
Other than Sanders, no one is guaranteed to be on the team. Like, I think it's a fairly good assumption Kerryon Johnson will make it, but it's not a lock. Like, if he doesn't look right, they could cut him. Again, there's no guaranteed money in Boston Scott's contract, Kerryon Johnson's contract. Kenny Gainwell has a small one from a signing bonus. Jordan Howard has no guarantees in his contract in terms of money. So these guys have to earn their keep. And then, if by a minor miracle, Huntley won't, but Killins or Holyfield has this unbelievable training camp in preseason and pushes one of these guys, and it's super highly unlikely, but I always put this in the never say never category, then one of these guys might be in trouble making the team. I mean, I kind of like it that by contract structure, none of them are guaranteed to make it. I think it's actually a good thing.
I totally agree. And we'll close it on this. I think Miles Sanders, I'm very curious to see how the new coaches use him, because as I think back to the type of running backs that both Sirianni had in with the Chargers and with the Colts, and what Steichen had with the Chargers, they've had some good, there's Eckler, there's Gordon, there's Jonathan Taylor, but Sanders is probably the most explosive back. I mean, they've had good pass catchers like Eckler and Naeem Hines, good big backs like Gordon and Jonathan Taylor, right?
Yep.
And even Marlon Mack is a big, powerful back.
Right, who is explosive as heck.
Yeah.
Really
but what Miles has is a little bit of the ability to blend all of that. I mean, he can run. He doesn't run power, but he's explosive. He can run between the tackles well. I thought he improved on that area last year, and he can catch the ball well, which he did not improve on from 1 to 2. But the whole offense was in shambles last year, so maybe that was just kind of a victim of the offensive round dude type.
Correct.
Of thing.
It was play calling Wentz's inaccuracy. Sanders sometimes. This is explained to me. He wants to move without the football sometimes. Some of them he had a lot of daylight where it could have been a big play. One would have been for a touchdown. He just dropped it. I can't remember which game it was, but anyway, somewhere to his ankles. It's like, okay, it was low, but you still have to catch the football. Right. That's your job. And he's just got to be better with it. He didn't regress at all. He just didn't progress. He was supposed to take the next step in year 2, and he didn't, like in certain areas. So big year for him.
I put out a tweet. I remember during the season, several of his best games came against the top defenses. He had a good game against Baltimore. He had a good game against Pittsburgh. Had a good game against another one of the top 10 defenses they played last year. And people will say, well, yeah, that's because he had an 80-yard run or a 70-yard run. Well, it counts. It matters.
I know.
That's like saying Barry Sanders was just a mediocre running back who would break off a lot of long runs every once in a while. They count.
Most negative yards in NFL history.
Yeah, I know. He must have stunk then, I guess. Yeah. All right, let's move on. We'll talk about the rookie free agent signings. Yeah. First, got to remind everybody to check out our friends at phlsportsnation.com, enhancing the fans' experience with their coverage of all of our Philadelphia sports teams. Great podcasts as well. Make sure you're checking them out on Twitter at phlsportsnation and going to their website, phlsportsnation.com. We'll pause real quick for another word from our great sponsors, including our friends at Sky Motor Cars. All right, if you stop into Sky Motor Cars, make sure you tell them Geoff and Adam will send you. You'll get a great deal. All right, let's get into the rookie free agents here. I will say this. I think that there have been past classes where you were more kind of enticed by some of the names because you felt, wow, this guy may have a shot to make it. Linebacker or safety.
Sure.
You look at this group, and I know there's one guy people are excited about. I think you and I will probably throw a little water on that. But overall, it's just like, okay, all right, we'll see. How do you want to start it? Because
we'll just do it in order.
All right, let's go with the first one. The wide receiver.
Just a couple notes here. Number one, they only signed 7 players.
Right.
No running backs. They didn't need to. No defensive tackles. no linebackers, no corners. We were right about that. I cannot believe it.
They can't I mean, again, they could have found one, Adam, but how is that guy going to be any different than the 4 or 5 rookie free agent caliber corners they already have?
So what I was told is just from a couple teams, this group's UDFA class was very top heavy. You had to get in on it early. If you didn't, you weren't getting anyone you'd want. So I'm sure that's why they did this. Again, they only 6 offensive players, 1 defensive player. That DN was Jaquan Bailey from Iowa State, who we'll talk about in a minute. But it's again, they only signed 7 players. We've got intel on all of them. Pretty interesting stuff from several scouting sources who we tapped into because we know people wanted this stuff, and we said we're going to wait till we get all of it, and we did. So let's take it away. Quarterback,
right, Jamie Newman. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yes, Newman, not from Seinfeld.
Yeah,
but, from Wake Forest via Georgia.
Yes, so
good size. That's the one thing that he has that you like. But go ahead.
6'2", 7/10 of an inch, 234. Wow, big guy. Hand size 9 3/4. Arms aren't long, not that it matters. 30 1/4. Here's the good stuff. Competitive. Good enough arm. Can move. Athletic enough. Certainly have upside. Good enough to be developed on the practice squad. Negatives are very obvious. It showed up on tape. Tends on to hold on the ball too long. Stares down targets. Half field reader. RPOs in college, which is fine. This is, he played at Wake Forest and transferred.
Right.
Which is bizarre because what happened was this hurt him, deciding not to play last season. He transferred and opted out, which is, some people think he opted out. He transferred because he didn't think he could win the job, and then you opt out. I mean, that's his personal choice, but I do believe that somehow that was held against him by some teams.
Oh, that's unfortunate, but
yeah, again, it's just if you look at this kid has got enough talent to be drafted. I understand he played at Wake Forest. Okay. Numbers were up and down. The accuracy's a problem for this guy. Too many throws you got to hit. He missed. I think some scouting sources are a little bit hard on him for opting out. And it's, again, that's his personal choice.
Right.
But you opted out and transferred. That's just not normal.
Yeah.
But nothing was normal about last year. So he's got ability. Like, he's got size. He can move. Not a super athlete, but athletic enough. Got a good arm, but he's a project. He needs to be on a practice squad. He's the kind of guy you'd like to develop on a practice squad. That's kind of where I think teams were with him.
So the chronology of all this happening is kind of interesting because we did a podcast before the draft, about 2 weeks before, talking about the likelihood of the Eagles drafting with one of their 11 picks, a developmental quarterback. And Jamie Newman came up. We said, maybe this is the type of guy who you would take late in, 5th, 6th round or something like that. And then like a week later, after we did more homework, we both were like, you know what? The NFL community is telling us that after the first 2 rounds, the quarterbacks, maybe after the first 3, right? Davis Mills went third round.
Yeah. Yes.
I was hearing it's just not a great, even for developmental late round, it's just not great. Yeah. So then we thought, well, all right, well, maybe the Eagles wouldn't draft one. They didn't. And then they come out with Jamie Newman anyway, as a developmental quarterback that we talked about in the initial podcast. But the question I keep having is, and look, the answer could simply be supply and demand here. There's not that a lot out there, but he was, as you mentioned, accuracy was not considered his thing, but we know that with this coaching staff, right, and this offense, they want accurate quarterbacks. So
not that anyone, right.
I mean, I guess
timing, it's a timing,
right.
Get it out of the hands. Old school West. It's just a Shanahan type old school West Coast offense. It's about timing and rhythm. You got to throw with anticipation and timing. And this is not Newman. Now he could be, again, no quarterback who comes out of the draft is a finished product. He's a project, but he's an interesting project. And as Geoff just said, accuracy is going to be super important, more than normal. Accuracy is always important, but because of it's not just, okay, throw with accuracy, get it out of your hands and make the guy go get the football. It's a timing thing, man. So this is going to be interesting to see how this offense looks.
Now, he can move around a little bit like most Wake Forest quarterbacks.
Yeah.
So there is some upside to, if he's able to make the practice squad, to having him on, running some scout team looks when you're facing
good point
the Russell Wilsons of the world. Right. Oh, that'll be probably part of our next podcast, by the way. The NFL schedule comes out Wednesday. So
okay.
we're gonna have
Ooh.
to address that on the next pod. Hopefully it'll come out early.
Let me ask you a question. We know who they're playing,
Right.
but
We just
do you
don't know
enjoy
when.
Yeah, exactly. Do you enjoy that? Like some
No.
people you don't care
No,
for?
I don't watch the shows and
I don't
find
either,
that.
but
I can't make any sense of that.
I do look forward to though when the Eagles are on national television.
Oh, that's different. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, obviously, if we're assuming we're back this year to games, we could have gone, but I decided not to.
Right.
This year I'm going, so I'm interested to see, because it's always, I like to see how the league judges or evaluates each team. Like when the Browns had the unbelievably ridiculous hype, whatever it was, it might have been 18 or 19. I can't remember which year. I think it was 18. Out of control. They might have got 6 primetime games. Ridiculous. Of course, they sucked.
Yes.
And now they're good. You wonder where the Browns get on national TV. I'm always interested to see how the league sees these teams.
Well, yeah, I try not to. I read that much into, because sometimes it's whatever. If you're a big, like the Eagles are always going to get at least 3 or 4, and it's sometimes because they're playing Dallas or New York or. Do you think the NFC East compares the market size? They crush any other division, right? Yeah. But star power, like who are the 3 biggest stars in the NFC East?
Oh boy!
And when I say stars, I'm not just talking about best players, but they have to be like Fletcher Cox is a star, but I don't consider him a national household superstar.
It's a great point. So Philly, Lane Johnson, but he doesn't have the appeal.
Yeah,
Dak? He sure does, but not nationally.
Does Dak have that? Do you think Dak is a
Dak? Yeah, well, the Cowboys are. Yeah, I would say Dak, Zeke, Elliott, although he had a bad year.
Yeah,
not bad, down, and it would have been better with Prescott. I would say Dak, yeah.
Zeke.
I
wouldn't put Amari there. Amari's a great receiver, but he's just not like out there. Like people don't put him in their top 3 or 5.
Yeah, personality is not great. Washington, they're just so young on the defensive side of football. They're line, Chase Young, obviously.
Yeah, if we're having this conversation next year, Chase Young will probably be. I mean, he's that good. He's just not there yet.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. Like the NFC East kind of gets by on the national TV games because of their market size more than the fact that they have superstars. I mean, if you were to pick the top 10 players in the game right now, how many would be from the NFC East? Aaron Donald's the top player in the game. Aaron Rodgers is a top player in the game. Tom Brady's still playing at the top of the game. Deshaun Watson, if he's not, embroiled in controversy, top player of the game. DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, defensive players. I mean, who's the best corner in the game?
You're right. I had not looked at it like that, but you're right.
I mean, it's odd for the NFC to kind of have that. Every team is kind of trying to grow within itself right now and come into its own. But they'll be like Leonard Williams had a great year last year.
He did.
But he's not a league
nondescript naturally, like unless you really follow a game, he was tremendous. Like he really turned his career around. You're right. It's fascinating because obviously Philly's a big media market, top 4 now. New York is 1 or 2. Washington is an upper half.
Yeah.
And Dallas is not the greatest media market, but as a football team, they're they're right at top 3 in terms of actually, you could say they're 1 in terms of
yeah, they probably are because of you're right, their fandom, right? Because they're the most. I saw a list on ESPN yesterday. They're how am I going to phrase this? They have the highest value of any American sports franchise.
Oh yeah, because they're all exactly right. So it's interesting. I always look forward to seeing what games they give teams on national television, and who are the new darlings, who's the league season new darlings. That's always interesting.
Yeah, definitely. All right, we'll get into some other of these rookie free agents. So wait, just real quick, you and I kind of agree. Like if Jamie Newman's going to be on the team, it's the practice squad.
Oh yeah, they're
uphill battle.
I mean, there's just he's not beating anyone out. It's just a question of will they keep 3. There would be no reason to keep 3 quarterbacks unless in those 3 preseason games, and if it gets out like from the reporters because teams look at this stuff, they get the news packet in the morning. They'll see which guys are doing well in training camp. If he shocks the world, he's great in training camp, where they don't want to put him through waivers.
Right.
I know this is going to sound comical, but in 1999, when was Brady drafted? 99 or 2000, whatever. I think
it was 99.
Okay.
No, that was his first year, wasn't it? Was it 98 that he was drafted?
Well, I'm sorry.
It might have been 98 that he was drafted.
99 what 98? Yeah, it would have been 99 or 2000. Right. But when Brady, I remember talking to Scott Pioli about this. They did not need him to be their fourth quarterback, but they were like, why are we keeping 4 quarterbacks here? But so what they did is they kept him inactive the whole season. They were not going to expose him to waivers.
Right.
And that's what you do. If you think someone is good, they had no idea how great he would be. Best player in NFL history at his position. But if you think someone's really good, you don't expose them to waivers, because I know that here's a junior case, the Noah Togiai issue last season. I don't know what the hell the Eagles were thinking.
I still think I have like some weird suspicion that somebody on the old coaching staff tipped off Frank Reich. I don't know why they would do that, but
funny you say that. I know the Eagles were wondering how the hell they knew about him. Now, because in training camp, the reporters were not getting the access they normally get. I mean, maybe it got out. I don't know. Maybe it was written about. I don't remember that, but I know in our show we were hearing how good he was doing, and we assumed he was making the team. And I'm like, when they cut him, we're like, what?
Yep.
What are you doing?
But more so, we were like, how does anybody? We understood it, like, oh yeah, no one's going to claim him, and then
that's what they thought,
and it was like, what?
That was a shocker, man. Exactly.
Yeah. All right, we'll move on to the next one. First, download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use the promo code ITB to turn $1 into $100 when you bet on a main card fighter to win this weekend. All right, that's $1 to win $100 when you're betting on the main card fighter to win using that promo code ITB only on top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app. All right, we got a couple of wide receivers to go through here. Is it Jamon Osborne?
Jamon Osborne, from
Texas A&M.
Yep, 6'2", 3/10 of an inch, 217, hand 9 7/8,
good hands,
which is good. 32 3/8 arm, which is good. He does not run very well. 40 slow, 4.7.
Yeah, you try it.
I'm sorry?
You try it.
Yeah, well, if I could break 6, that'd be good. Here, I learned something just checking into it, and we'll explain this. So his 10 was 1.66, which is slow. Any receiver over 1.56 is slow for a 10. 10 is short area quickness. He was not getting drafted, first of all, off of that. And number 2, he opted out last season.
That was okay. Interesting.
Yeah, he does. He plays with good intensity. He blocks well for the run game. Does have good size. He's a possession receiver. Has better than average hands. There was no way he was getting drafted. There's nothing that you would look at other than his size to draft him.
Right.
But obviously somebody liked him, and they're bringing him in. And boy, the Eagles need size at receiver, and they also they're so young at receiver. There are only really 3 receivers who are guaranteed to make it, and after that, it's anybody's ball game. So why not sign 2 receivers?
Sure. So to recap, he doesn't run very fast. He's got good size, though, good hands, and he can block in the running game. He's Riley Cooper. That's what I'm getting out of this.
Riley can run a little bit, for his size.
A little bit.
Get others.
Yeah. All right. The next wide receiver, who everybody seems to be excited about, Trevon Grimes. Give his measurables here.
Yeah, they're important. He is 6. He's big. I mean, he's jumbo size, as they call him. 6'4", 220. 9 3/8 hands, 31 3/8 arms. 40 at the pro day was 4.51. He runs in that area. That's what he runs. His best 40 time. It might have been, I don't know if it was at I don't know if it was the spring before. I guess his best 40 time ever was 4.47. He plays to the 4.5s. His 10 was very average at 1.57. Again, he won 1.56 or better. Here's the book on this kid. Well, he's got good size, inconsistent hands, does not run it to his 40 time, but is very competitive. Works hard, does things after practice to help his overall game. Good at slants and routes that make him go get the football. Does not throttle down well, which is typical of big receivers. He's got upside. Could have been drafted. Could have made the case for 6th or 7th round. He's got talent. Not a consistent player. He's better for a practice squad where you develop him there. Again, he's got a chance to make the team because the Eagles are so inexperienced at receiver. And again, only 3 receivers are definitely making it. So after that, why can't a kid like Grimes challenge for a 5th receiver job?
I mean, I suppose he could, especially if he can contribute on special teams. I mean, I think people are
good point.
A little overreaching on the idea that because he's got this great size and can challenge, play the X, he's just going to get out there and make the team and be their X receiver.
Actually, that brings up another point. Another negative is he doesn't always play to his size, which is another scouting term.
Right.
They're guys who use their body to shield, okay? They're big receivers who aren't fast, but they get open. Anquan Bolden, a great example of it. 6'1" plus, tremendous with shielding off defenders. Knew how to use his body. Now this kid's way taller. He's 3 or 2.5 inches or 3 inches taller.
Right.
But does not always use his size correctly, which is a inside scouting term, and you'll see that on coaching tape, I was told.
Interesting. All right, so he's got an uphill battle. I mean,
but he has one nugget.
What the size? Right.
That two. His offensive coordinator from Florida is now the Eagles receivers quarterbacks coach.
Yeah, but it makes you wonder if they didn't even draft him.
Why.
Right. They had 3 6th-round picks.
Yeah.
They didn't draft him, so you wonder.
Well, maybe they thought they guessed right. Maybe they thought he wasn't going to be drafted.
Yeah, maybe. I always think though that works both ways. Just some people sometimes say that, like, oh, Brian Johnson from Florida, they signed him, so maybe Brian's feedback was that he's not very good, or
Well, no, but they wouldn't have signed him. There's no way they're signing him if he wasn't very good, obviously.
Well, I just mean from as far as drafting the kid as opposed to
free agent. He would have had intel. The best part about Brian Johnson being on the roster is he's got intel on the player, like character,
right?
Stuff like that really matters, particularly with this young group. We had detailed pretty strongly last season that there was a little bit of immaturity to the group, which was no secret to anyone who did scouting on Hightower or Watkins.
Right.
This is why, despite their obvious talent, Watkins was, from a talent standpoint, a 3rd-round grade type of player around the league, but on character, there were knocks on both players, he and Hightower. And Hightower's a little bit thin and explosive. Both can run, but there was a reason why they went lower.
Interesting. All right. Next guy, is it Stoll?
Yeah, Jack Stoll. Now, this one they stole from other teams. Ironically. Different spelling. It's S-T-O-L-L. From Nebraska. 6'3" and 0.6 of an inch. 247. He could play H-back. F is in this offense, I'm told. This F, the Colts use an F back. That's an off. That's an off schedule. It's an off to the boxcar tight end. It is in my notes here. 33 and 1/8 arm, 4.7 140, which is average for a tight end. 1.6 410, which is what you're going to get. Bench press of 16. Okay, versatility to play wide tight end, F slot because he runs better than you think. Got hurt in his first game last season with an MCL sprain. Was limited to 7 catches, only played 3 games. Good hands, solid athlete. Absolutely will vie for that 3rd tight end job in training camp. He should have been drafted. He would have been drafted. Had he played a full season, he would have been a 5th or 6th round pick. He played 4 years. Several teams are involved in trying to sign him. Eagles have a good relationship with the agent. That helps. And then good run after the catch because he's a pretty good athlete. Way better than average blocker. Does a lot. Does inline or on the move. This is a really good free agent signing, and he might wind up making up for that awful mistake with Noah Togiai.
Yeah, I was just about to say I don't want to belabor the Togiai point, but this feels like a similar type of siging.
You know what?
Yeah,
it could be. I don't remember if he was a better athlete than this kid, but the way it works is in scouting. If a guy was a late round pick and doesn't play his final season or doesn't have a lot of production his final season, it's hard to justify drafting this player. Like you just can't. Right. And I know you say, "Oh, can't you take him in the 7th round?" Theoretically, yes. That's where he should go based on tape study. But a lot of teams will say, "We're not drafting this kid. He had no production." That's just there's like a push and pull with general managers and personnel directors and college scouting directors about who wins the argument. Not that I don't know what the Eagles. I have no idea what their discussions were like. I just know the way not this one, but I know the way they generally go when deciding whether to draft a guy. And you gamble, A, that the guy won't be drafted, he wasn't, and B, that you can win the negotiation or you have some relationship, and it works. So good for them.
Sure. And it makes me wonder if because now that 3 of these 4 names are guys who either didn't play a whole lot or opted out that we've gone through. And I wonder if this year you'll see a few more rookie free agents be able to stick or make a 53 because they were actually pretty good players who A, didn't have enough tape because they opted out, or B, their school didn't play enough games because of COVID,
no doubt,
or they got injured like Jack
doubt.
Stoll. So there might be some pretty good talent among the UDFA ranks here that you just didn't get discovered.
The next one,
go
I
ahead.
don't know how to pronounce his name. He's an offensive tackle. Coyote, Awosika, Awasika. Yeah. From
Okay.
the University of Buffalo. Now, guy is interesting. 6'3" and 1/10 of an inch, 307, 32 and 5/8 arm, which almost makes him a guard in today's NFL. He won at least 33. Bench press was really good at 28. Draftable grades. Probably will play guard because he's not long. Super smart. High test score type of player. Bunch of teams trying to sign him. I don't know what they paid him. I have no idea on the guarantee on the signing bonus, but he's a 5-position player in college. Like apparently had practice time at all of them. This is a really good free agent signing. Now, the Eagles and he's athletic enough. You're always looking for competition on the interior guard. You can never have enough guys who can compete. You know,
Right.
This guy is so much more athletic than Matt Pryor. Now, obviously, he's much shorter. But look, that's okay.
Yeah, I wonder how he compares to Sua Opeta, who was another
guy,
strong,
right.
powerful kind of athletic type of. Yeah,
that's what I mean. It's like now you have a different guy.
Right.
No, this is good. This is a smart signing for them.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, another interior offensive. Oh, by the way, if this guy played at Buffalo, he must have blocked for the tight end that the Eagles signed, who was a quarterback at Buffalo, right?
Tyree Jackson. Is that his name?
Yeah, they probably spent at least 1 year together.
Maybe so. Yeah, maybe so. Yeah,
all right, we'll look into that. All right, the next guy, the center, Harry Kreider.
Yeah, sounds like a 70s rock frontman.
It really does.
Harry Kreider from IU, 6'2" and 7/10 of an inch. He's a guard center, 307, 32 and 3/4 arms, 8 and 7/8 hand, 31 bench press. Likely will play center. Spoke to like 3 or 4 teams about him. He projects more for center. Good senior year, good size for center, leader, smart, good pass protection, really good diagnosing traffic, major improvement. Like he didn't become the player he would become until his senior season. That got him late round consideration from teams, high character kid, smart. The thing about the Eagles players over the years is that for the most part, they're pretty high character. You don't hear a lot of off the field stuff with these guys.
True. That's true. I can't think of too much.
Yeah.
Usually if you have an issue with a UDFA guy though, once he's cut the next day anyway.
Yeah, exactly right. If they find out something. Overall, sure. So if you think about this now, let's move this forward.
Okay.
Kelsey retires after the season as expected. Then you've got most likely Dickerson, if he's healthy enough, will be their center.
Right.
So now you keep Seumalo at where he's supposed to be at left guard. Now, Brandon Brooks, I would say it's fair to speculate that he won't be with the team in 2022 unless he stays healthy and kicks ass where they go, we can't move this guy.
Right.
We just can't do it because he's doing so well and he stays healthy. Brandon can make it hard for them if he could play 15 or 16 games. But the Kreider kid, they may cross train in training camp. Again, we're in May now, so who knows? They get the rookie mini camp coming up soon. But look, next year he may wind up competing for the backup center job. Who knows?
The 31 bench press is a pretty impressive number for an interior, a guy who plays
Great
center. That's good. That's good strength right there. I mean, sometimes that stuff doesn't translate. Sometimes it does. So
sure. Oh my God, you just made me think of something. I don't know if you're covering the team then. You probably were not. Do you remember Scott Young?
Oh, of course. That'd be BYU.
You know. Yeah,
yes.
Good call. Okay, you were the obviously you know it immediately. He was Mr. Universe. I say that, but he might have had like whatever the year that he came out. I'm guessing was like 03, 04, like that. His bench pressure was ridiculous. He's like super duper strong, but that's all he was. He never made it. He wasn't around long.
No, he had to play in a playoff game for the Eagles in 2006 because Sean Andrews came out of the game.
You not think it's Scott Peters?
No, trust me, it's Scott Young.
No, with the Browns.
I have this weird memory for these sort of moments. McNabb threw a touch. No, I'm sorry. Garcia threw a screen to Westbrook that went for a touchdown that would have put the Eagles up.
He only played 3. It's crazy. He only played 3 years.
Yeah,
2 years with the Eagles.
But the screen got called back because of a holding by Scott Young that many will tell you was a phantom hold. It was not.
Oh man, you got a memory, man.
But it was called. Well, I mean, that was my first playoff game. I think it was in New Orleans at the Dome. I could
Wait, was
barely
this
hear
the
myself
Sheldon Brown game?
think.
Was this the Sheldon Brown game?
Yeah, I think that's the same game. Same game.
Yeah, because he only appeared 13 games in 2 years.
Uh-huh.
He's out of the league after 3 years. Man, he just was like a blur here in Philly. 13 games only for the Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
Never started a game. I guess he came off the bench in the regular,
Right.
regular season. He only.
Sean Andrews had to exit that game, if I remember.
Yeah. Okay. But he was a weightlifter kind of guy. I know he was all jacked up, real strong, and yeah, he was a BYU. Yeah, he was I remember this was an Annie pick. People were teasing him about it because he was
he
a BYU
drafted?
guy.
I couldn't remember.
Yeah, he was. I think it was a 5th round pick. Yes.
Okay, that's when when we used to make the joke, the best available Mormon.
Yeah. Yeah, because it was an Andy thing.
Yeah, Reno Mahe was, I believe, was a Mormon.
Yeah, there were other
guys out of BYU that he would
pick.
pick.
Yeah, there were BYU players Andy would bring in. I'm drawing a blank now. This is so long ago, but yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and so that we coined the phrase as beat writers. Oh, it's it's the 6th round. We got to get the best available Mormon.
Oh boy,
that was great. Oh, those were the days. All right, let's finish this off. Defensive end out of Iowa State, Jaquan Bailey.
Yeah, he's now this kid is a high character kid. Good production in the Big Ten. But he doesn't have good length. He finishes well, 6'1" and 7/10 of an inch, 246, arm length 32, small hands at 8.5, bench press was 19.
Mm-hmm.
He's a developmental prospect for practice squad. Yeah, he's not highly unlikely to make it. Oh, by the way, a little nugget on defensive end. They're moving. Guys, what's the kid's name? The undrafted kid from 3 years ago was the Rudy.
Jannard Avery. Oh, no. From 3 years ago, Joe Osman?
Yes, he's moving to linebacker. I was told a strong side linebacker.
Really?
Yeah, to stand him up. Remember, he was going to be a joker 3 years ago, and he got hurt towards ACL.
So is Gannon's defense going to have?
It's completely different. That you won't even recognize Jim Schwartz's defense. The fans will forget about. They're like, wait a minute, they did what when Jim Schwartz was here? That it's like it's almost like. This defense is like the exact opposite, is always explained to me, and we'll have more. We've detailed a lot of it, but we'll actually have more. We may touch more on. In fact, Thursday, we're gonna have a couple more notes on it.
Mm-hmm.
But so right now, we'll put Bailey on the roster, right? For now.
But do you think that Gannon's defense will have a little bit more of a look like a linebacker on the line as a pass rusher,
as a
5-1-5 type look?
Well, that's the bear front would be a 5th defensive end. Typically, a bear front is you get someone with size at the end.
Yeah, but I think when Minnesota, you've seen Barr kind of do that, where he would come.
He'll drop in the box, right? Correct, right. He'll. This is again one of the many differences you'll hear about, but so that you might be right on that. With Osman doing that, I was told he's going to stand up. Now you subtract 1 at the end, so you've got Barnett and Graham, Sweat, Bailey, Teron Jackson, Matt Leo, who's they have an exception because he's an international player.
How many years is that exception, by the way?
I'm sorry.
Is that how many years do you get that? Because he was last year. He was part of.
Yes,
the
I don't know.
As well.
I don't know. He's not making the team. I mean,
no, I'm just curious.
Giant. Yeah, he's a project. He's almost 6'7", but needs a lot of development. But I'll tell you, and I say he won't make the team. Well, I'm telling you, man, they have like no depth.
Yeah, this is a very atypical type of Eagles defense with not a whole lot of depth at the end. I mean, it's you're right. It's strange.
I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, there are jobs. This is the first time we have to go over rosters. I can't remember feeling like there's so many jobs open on the team, on the Eagles team.
So Jaquan Bailey came from Iowa State, right? And doesn't Nick Sirianni have a connection there, like a coach who?
Tom Manning. Yeah, we had reported that he was under consideration, but he didn't want to leave Iowa State. He's now the offensive coordinator. At least last check he was.
Yeah, good program. They're really building.
I'm sorry?
They're really building up.
Iowa State?
Yeah.
Oh, the coach is terrific. Yeah, so Manning was a tight ends coach with Sirianni in 2018, and apparently they're pretty good friends.
Okay.
But he couldn't get him. He decided not to go. And yeah, maybe he had intel on this kid Bailey, but apparently, look, he had good production. He's just smaller than you would want. Based on what I know, it's unlikely he would make the team. But quite frankly, the Eagles don't have a 4th or 5th end right now. Teron Jackson's a 6th round pick. I mean, if he tears it up in training camp, maybe he'll make it in preseason. But man, right now they better.
It's not. Yeah, not a position you'd feel great about if they had a lot of injuries there.
Oh, they're finished, man. If they have two,
Yeah.
who's gonna then they can move Osman back and they can move Avery back. That is true. They have that option.
Well, I mean, that's assuming those guys are going to make the team.
Of course,
yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, if they make the team, right,
Right.
that would be an option for that's their fallback. But man, there's going to be an interesting. There's going to be some training camp battles. I don't know. I mean, sometimes you might argue. I don't know if you'd want these to be training camp battles, but they're going to be a lot of them for these backup jobs.
No doubt about it. All right, next pod, we'll get into the schedule. We'll get into some other things with some maybe a little carryover from the UDFAs as we look into them more. Tell us what you're doing on Twitch before we get out of here, because you're very popular on Twitch now.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, and I knew this was going to happen. It's all good. The first chat, because they promoted the hell out of it, that we had it's crazy. There were several thousand people in it. Now I'm on my own, so we're getting to 75 to 100 people to come in, which is great. I would say easily 50% are Eagle fans, and there are a lot of Browns and Raider fans in there.
Nice.
Some Bronco fans.
Misery loves company.
Yeah, it's funny, but it's cool. It's great because some of the questions are so good. I actually kept some of them.
Nice.
And because we're going to do, I think this week we're going to do our live stream, and I'm going to take some of them and the ones that I didn't get to, and we'll answer in our live stream. But then you have your Powder Blue show, your pod, and I got to ask you a question.
Yeah.
This NFC East, everyone's bragging how great it is. Is it as good as people say it is? Because, man, the Phillies are killing me.
Who's saying? I mean, right now, almost every team is at 500 or under.
Well, coming into the season, though, people are bragging on the season. Oh,
people did. People thought the Mets were going to be a lot better. People thought the Phillies would be better. People thought the Braves would be a good team, and they've struggled up until recently. So it's kind of, and the Washington Nationals, they've been without Soto. So it's kind of been 4 teams that are all having a difficult time finding out what their identity is. But because of that, even a team like the Phillies that they couldn't hit for the first 3 weeks, and now they're having bullpen issues again, but they're still in it. In fact, a couple of days ago, they were in first place because they won 4 in a row and were a game or two over 500.
5 runs in 4 games. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. It's a very strange division.
Yeah.
Kind of like we were talking about with the NFL, Adam, to me, it's a shame I'm a huge baseball fan. You are too, but I find it a shame that Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout and some Fernando Tatis Jr. I mean, it's great for the California teams. I'm sure they're fans, but there's no fan passion like in Philadelphia and the East Coast, the New York and Boston. Those guys, if Shohei Ohtani was playing for the Phillies, which probably couldn't do because of no designated hitter,
of course.
If you were playing for the Yankees, unfortunately, the Red Sox, he'd be the biggest story in sports right now. I mean, he's almost, I think he's up among the major league leaders in homers, and he's pitching really well. He's striking guys out. He's an unbelievable story, but it kind of gets buried out there just being in Anaheim. It just doesn't get, if he was a Red Sox or a Yankee, or if somehow he could play in the National League and be here, oh my God, it would be an unbelievable thing to watch.
The Angels are not a national team. They're just not.
No,
they're kind of like the Texas Rangers to me.
Right.
Who cares about the Texas Rangers?
Right.
Talk about a nondescript franchise.
Right. Even the Mariners, even when the Mariners are good, nobody really cares. Remember all those years ago, they won like a record-setting number of games.
With Griffey Jr. and A-Rod.
And then they lost to the Yankees in the playoffs. So they didn't even capitalize on it. But like right there is where Ichiro played for so long. And he was a superstar, but he would have been so much more appreciated if he played here on the East Coast every single day.
No doubt, man.
And again, there's just not, there are, Juan Soto's a superstar when he's healthy. He's not right now. Bryce at times plays is definitely a household name and superstar.
Yep.
But I think, Freddie Freeman, does he move the needle around the country?
No,
I don't
really
know
good.
that he does,
Struggling this year, but he's a star player, but he doesn't.
Right.
Acuna
is that guy.
Yeah.
Acuna
well, he's got he's
fun to watch.
Yeah, exactly.
But so we do that. We talk Phillies and MLB on the Powder Blue podcast. So please subscribe. It's myself.
And it's with you and Frank Close.
And we've had Susie Hunter on. I don't know if you know Susie. She's a Philadelphian. She was a reporter up in Connecticut for the last few years for WTNH in Connecticut, doing both sports and news. She's back in Philly. She's really smart, very knowledgeable. We'll probably have her back on again.
Cool.
Because she's just an awesome addition to the podcast. So the Powder Blue podcast, please subscribe if you can. And of course, subscribe to Adam's Twitch channel. I thought you were playing Mario Kart. I had no idea you were actually.
I know it's
because that's what Twitch is. It's like mostly
well, remember,
gamers.
here's the thing. So they contacted me, and they're owned by Amazon. And look, they've got the Thursday night package, which starts in 2 years.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So Mark Schlereth and Trey Wingo. Mine is the Adam Kaplan show. I should give that out. Jesus.
Oh, okay. Well, hook a brother up, man. How can I get the Geoff Mosher show going on?
Yeah, go right ahead. So I don't know how I forgot to say that. So yeah, Mark Schlereth and Trey Wingo have their own show. My friend Bucky Brooks is on there.
You might see Inside the Birds itself on Twitch in a year or two.
Who knows?
You never know.
Who knows? We might be on. That's actually a great idea. Who's the former? The guy's a winemaker now. Who's the former corner? Sort of a low end guy. Will Blackman.
Okay.
I think he has one. Too.
Awesome. Well, check out the Adam Kaplan show on Twitch. I'm sure you will, as always, be very, very entertained. That'll do it for this episode of Inside the Birds, the leading podcast in Eagles intel. Big thanks to our producer, Hunter Brody. He might be on Twitch. I'm not sure, but if he is, it's probably Sports Talk with Broge, just like his YouTube channel. Check out his Twitter account @Broge81 and @Broads Media. And as always, we thank you for flying with us inside the birds.